On his way back, fate continued to bless him with an ownerless life jacket. He had truly hit the jackpot on a deserted island. Arriving at a shady, clear patch of land, he immediately took out the coconut he had found earlier and split it open. A single crack revealed the pristine white, irresistibly fragrant coconut meat. Without hesitation, he devoured it all, savoring the sea breeze, feeling as though he were sitting in a five-star resort. After eating his fill, he gathered the water from the plastic bottles he'd found and poured it all into one large bottle. The result, a bottle of sweet water like a love spring. Combined with a few coconuts stored away, his worries about water shortage vanished with the wind. He then unpacked his secret gear from home: a first aid kit, a drone, a camera, 8 spare batteries, lightweight clothing, and even a dress shirt for striking a pose. He also had a fishing line, hooks, parachute cord, a headlamp, a multi-tool worthy of Batman's utility belt, and a razor-sharp machete. Most importantly, he couldn't forget his one true love: a packet of premium coffee, fit for a true coffee aficionado. He even brought a mini hammock to sway in during the evenings, far better than lying on the hard sand. And that wasn't all. His diving gear was fully prepared, from the mask and snorkel to a fishing spear, ready to hunt in the ocean like a professional. Next, the man began to explore the island like a survival detective, hunting for treasures and searching for a place to set up camp. Along the way, luck struck again when a helmet landed right at his feet, sitting snugly under a tree. It might not be bulletproof, but it was decent enough for sun protection. Continuing his search, he discovered a mysterious wild fruit. He split it open like a village doctor, finding it full of seeds. A single lick sent a searing pain through his tongue, like a mutant chili pepper. As he stood there dazed, fate gifted him a perfect clearing. It was fantastic. He just needed to clear it a bit to build a makeshift shelter. Nearby, there were wild almond trees with massive leaves, showing great potential for a rain and sunproof roof. And it didn't stop there. He also found a light bulb. Who knows who threw it there, but maybe he could use it to smash rocks out of boredom. Venturing deeper into the dense jungle, he found plenty of good quality wood, the ideal material for building his new home. He hit the jackpot again, finding another coconut by the shore. After sharpening his knife, he split it open and drank deeply, the cool liquid feeling like a divine nectar. To avoid dehydration, he gathered all the coconuts he had previously collected, chopped them open, and poured the water into plastic bottles, stockpiling it as if he were about to open a coconut water dealership on the island. Under the blazing sun, dehydration was no joke. Water was gold, and coconuts were diamonds. After his massive water-gathering operation, he put on his backpack and headed to the sea, looking around as he walked. Suddenly, he spotted a plump snail under an ancient tree. The deserted island was truly a treasure trove of resources. Returning to the clearing, he hung his hammock between 2 trees. The moment he lay down, the feeling was better than any 5-star resort. All that was missing was a coconut cocktail to complete the vacation package. With the cool breeze, he drifted into a midday nap like a king. When he woke up, disaster had struck. The handle of his knife was cracked. He immediately used a rope to tie it back together, a testament to his masterful improvisation skills. Testing it on a few nearby saplings, the knife chopped cleanly. Its performance was undeniable. His skills had leveled up. He continued, chopping down a massive bundle of about 30 to 40 sticks, preparing to build his shelter. But ironically, where there are good trees, there are also ants. Hordes of red fire ants had occupied the area, making him worried about sleepless nights spent scratching relentlessly. He decided to use 2 large trees as the main pillars, quickly erecting a simple frame. Recalling his experience of being flooded in the Amazon, this time he built a rectangular frame to prevent leaks. He continued to build the roof frame with a super steep design, like a slide, so that if it rained, the water would just flow right off without visiting. He then gleefully covered the roof with a layer of lush, green leaves, creating a rustic but effective shelter that protected him from the sun, the rain, and even boredom. As dusk fell, he took the opportunity to bathe in the sea under the brilliant sunset, looking like he was in a shampoo commercial. But life is not a dream. His dinner that night consisted only of coconut water and coconut meat. He'd eaten so much coconut he felt like he might sprout leaves from his head. Eating the same thing over and over, he started to get sick of it and swore that tomorrow he would get some calories to avoid fainting on the island. After his coconut buffet, he relaxed in his comfortable hammock, swaying in the wind like a child being rocked to sleep, and then slept soundly like a god of the deserted island. But the heavens don't always favor the good. At only 5:30 in the morning, he was ambushed by insects holding a festival on his body, swarming him from head to toe like a living buffet. The first thing he did upon waking was to scrape some coconut meat to ease his hunger, followed by brewing himself a cup of coffee, an essential savior for his spirit and energy. After recharging with coffee, he slung his backpack over his shoulder and walked along the coast in search of fortune. And fortune did not disappoint. He immediately found a long, dry bamboo pole and 2 bottles of cool fresh water. But the treasure hunt didn't end there. He went on to find 10 more bottles of quality fresh water, which he consolidated into 1 large bottle to carry with him like a mobile water station. Next, he wielded his mighty bamboo pole, aiming at the innocent coconut trees and poking relentlessly, quickly bringing down 3 in a row like a coconut-picking ninja. With practiced ease, he split each one, pouring the water into his plastic bottle for storage, as if gathering capital to open a coconut water business. The coconut meat was not to be wasted. It was crispy and refreshing, tasting like 100% natural yogurt jelly. He also conveniently gathered a pile of dry firewood, an essential ingredient for a campfire or for grilling something if he got lucky. Returning to his makeshift construction site, he took a sip of cool water to replenish his energy and then went back to hauling wood like a Stone Age deliveryman, all to reinforce his shelter. As he happily laid coconut leaves on the roof, he looked around and suddenly exclaimed, "Huh, this is as tiny as a chicken coop. Who could live in this?" And so, he decided to tear it down and start building a new one, bigger and better. Soon after, the new roof frame was complete, both sturdy and impressive, like a model home in the jungle. Despite the effort, he continued to meticulously lay leaves on the roof, layering them like frosting on a tropical forest cake. The giant leaves were perfect for a top-tier rain and sunproof roof. When he finished, he hung his hammock again and gazed out at the sea. The wind blew gently, and he drifted off to sleep before he knew it. Waking up refreshed, he went back into construction mode, continuing to gather leaves, picking them one by one and layering them like an international-level shelter artisan. In a flash, well, maybe a few dozen minutes, the shelter was looking quite respectable, but he wasn't done yet. He painstakingly added a second layer of leaves, this time completely covering it with split coconut fronds, creating a magnificent roof fit for a palace in the wild. Admiring his work, he nodded in satisfaction before heading back to the sea, climbing a tree to gather 10 coconut husks for kindling, both convenient and highly flammable. While chopping wood, he felt exhausted, his mouth watering as if he were dreaming of food. Then, his stomach began to protest with sharp pains and nausea. It seemed to be the consequence of subsisting on coconuts without any meat or fish to sustain him. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, he put on his shirt and waded into the sea. And the heavens favored him. He spotted a crab hiding in a rock crevice. Food was secured. Now he just needed a fire. He went back into the forest to cut more coconut husks, an excellent fire starter. Then, he chopped a piece of dry wood, sharpened the end, and tied a rope to fashion a bow drill, just as his ancestors had taught him. Using another piece of wood as a base, he began the ancient, god-level ritual of making fire. After a period of relentless, teeth-gritting friction, a wisp of smoke appeared, followed by the first spark. He placed it in a tinder bundle, blew gently, fanned it vigorously, and whoosh! The flame erupted like a stage light. Adding some dry twigs, the fire roared to life, burning brightly like a Stone Age warrior's bonfire. Overjoyed, he let out a shout that echoed through the forest like Tarzan summoning his friends. Remembering the hibernating crab, he swiftly grabbed his spear and, moving like a ninja, stealthily approached and caught it, bringing it back to toss directly into the fire. After about 15 minutes of grilling, the crab was cooked through, its aroma filling the air. He broke off a large claw, as big as a weapon, and devoured it greedily. The explosion of flavor was indescribable, a world away from his one-sided relationship with coconuts. This was his first real feast on the island, a reward for his perseverance and top-tier survival skills. After eating his fill, his stomach stuffed to the brim, he realized that dry firewood was as scarce as Wi-Fi in the deep jungle. So, he set off again, searching for fuel to keep his beloved fire alive. As expected, he soon gathered a few pieces of dry wood, feeling as if he had struck gold, and ran back to camp, his heart filled with joy. Next, he took a small bamboo branch and cut a section to craft a magical fire-blowing tube, a true piece of made-in-the-jungle technology. After a few tests, the tube worked incredibly well, no less effective than an industrial blower. Not stopping there, he creatively used his life jacket as a fan, doubling the efficiency and creating a refreshing breeze just by looking at it. Suddenly realizing he had nothing for dinner, he packed his gear and headed to the sea in search of protein. The moment his feet touched the water, he spotted a small shrimp swimming in the cool current. He took the opportunity to soak for a while, letting all the stress of life wash away under the magnificent, picturesque sunset. After his bath, he returned to camp and relaxed in his hammock, as comfortable as a royal bed, watching the distant sunset with a ravenous hunger. As night fell, his stomach rumbled like a war drum, and he began to hunt for prey. Before long, using his ninja-like spearfishing skills, he took down a fat crab. But one crab wasn't enough. He went on to catch another to make his dinner even more spectacular. The captured crabs were thrown onto the fire to roast, while a piece of dried coconut left on the ground unintentionally became a buffet for a swarm of coconut crabs that flocked to it. However, since he was sick to death of coconut, he paid them no mind. After a few minutes, the crabs were cooked. He quickly broke off the claws, chewing voraciously and savoring every bite of the sweet, fragrant meat. The protein rushed into his body like a surge of energy. After a long day, he returned to his beloved hammock. But the joy was short-lived. He hadn't even started dreaming when he was awakened by falling embers. To make matters worse, the hammock couldn't bear his weight and ripped wide open, sending him crashing to the ground in pain. The hammock was officially done for, turned to ashes. With no other choice, he used the remaining fabric as a makeshift mattress on the ground, forced to spend a night in the jungle worried about snakes and centipedes crawling around like an insect festival. It's unclear if he slept well that night. But the next morning, the glorious third day began with the sunrise and the sound of him frantically blowing on the fire like a guardian of civilization, determined not to let his precious flame die out. Looking into the distance, he saw dark clouds gathering, a sign that a storm was looming. Without hesitation, he grabbed his spear and diving gear and charged into the sea, diving down to find food like a modern-day hunter. Under the blue water, the resources were as abundant as in a supermarket. As soon as he went under, he saw fish swimming everywhere, promising a bountiful hunt. The vast ocean was an all-you-can-eat outdoor buffet, with many delicacies beckoning. But unfortunately, his spear gun decided to act up, going as limp as leftover noodles. Undeterred, he quickly returned to shore, dismantling and reassembling the gun like a certified mechanic. He also took the time to find a few small branches, scraping off the bark until they were smooth, preparing to build a simple grill for the fancy meal to come. As soon as he was done, he took his gear back to the sea, excited to catch some plump fish. But ironically, all he found were tiny fish, like guppies, not even enough for a snack. He had to return to shore with a heavy heart. Seeing the tide recede, he took his bamboo pole to harvest more coconuts. Every poke was a direct hit, and coconuts fell like a downpour. In no time, he had collected 8 small ones. Wasting nothing, he poured the water into a plastic bottle and chewed on some coconut meat to keep his energy up before continuing the task of splitting coconuts. With his traditional split, catch, pour method, he quickly stockpiled a good amount of coconut water in a large bottle, ready for dry days ahead. He then tied a rope to the end of his spear, upgrading his weapon for a swift fish hunting campaign. But life isn't a dream. While engrossed in his crafting, he accidentally slammed his knee on a hard edge, the pain making him grimace as if he had eaten a hot chili. Pushing through the pain, he took his spear to the sea and dived deep in search of prey. In a flash, he spotted a target, stealthily swam after it, aimed carefully, and launched the spear decisively. But he missed, a disappointment like missing out on concert tickets. The fish were as agile as Olympic athletes, forcing him to shake his head and return to shore. He continued to walk along the beach, searching for more ingredients for his hungry stomach. With his current coconut water reserves, he had enough for about a day and a half. To survive until the end of the challenge, he prayed for a massive downpour to replenish his more precious than gold water supply. He then carried a few dry logs back to camp, his stomach growling like a starved cat, and quickly rekindled the fire to warm his spirits, chugging a bottle of cool coconut water to trick his rumbling stomach. As evening approached, he went to the shore to enjoy the breeze like a true chill-seeker, then returned to prepare a fancy dinner that, in reality, was just crispy, dried coconut meat. He ate with a grimace, sick of it to his core. He wondered when he would ever get to eat a real meal. But no matter how tired he was of it, he had to force it down because there was nothing else. After eating, he collapsed on the ground and fell into a dreamless sleep. But before he could even have a pleasant dream, the sky cruelly opened up, pouring down rain as if the heavens had taken pity on a thirsty soul. The rain completely solved his water problem, but his leaf-covered shelter leaked like a sieve, soaking him from head to toe. The fire was also on the verge of going out. He quickly grabbed his bamboo tube and blew with all his might like a warrior defending a fortress. He hurriedly collected rainwater in plastic bottles, pouring it into his large storage bottle. In the blink of an eye, he had filled 5 bottles. He no longer had to worry about water. But his hands were as wrinkled as pickled plums, looking no different than the fingers of a mummy. He watched over the fire all night, his eyes heavy, struggling to keep the last embers of life glowing. In the morning, just as he dozed off, he was startled awake by the dying fire and had to blow furiously to save it. The previous night's rain had caused the sea level to rise, which also meant more opportunities for hunting. He excitedly took his gear to the sea and began dancing around wildly like a TikToker, and it was clear he had some moves. Diving into the sea, he resumed his fish hunting campaign. But the fish here were as cunning as ninjas, and he couldn't hit anything. Finally, Lady Luck smiled upon him, and his spear struck a plump fish. Overjoyed as if he'd won the lottery, he brought his prize back to shore. The fish was stunning, its scales shimmering like a rainbow, but it still wasn't enough to satisfy him. It seemed his destiny was to eat coconuts. Determined to eat until he was full, he dived back into the sea like a superpowered hunter and quickly caught another one. This time, it was a colorful fish, a true ocean beauty queen, with intricate patterns like a watercolor painting. But he didn't stop there. His grand dinner still wasn't complete. So, he went back into the water again. And just as his hunter's instinct told him, as the tide rose, the fish came out to party. He caught another one, a jet black fish. Its fins were as sharp as razors and nearly pierced his hand. Luckily, he handled it quickly and carried all 3 of his trophies back to camp. He used the previously peeled sticks to build a barbecue grill in the middle of the jungle and placed the 3 fish on it, the aroma filling the entire area. 5 minutes later, the smell of cooked fish wafted through the air. He eagerly grabbed the smallest one and took a bite, a wave of pleasure washing over him. It was truly delicious, but only the first bite. As he neared the end, it became overwhelmingly fishy, making him want to throw up. Life felt ironic, but he was hungry, so he powered through the second and then the third fish. He devoured all 3, feeling as satisfied as if he'd been at a buffet. Energized, he immediately gathered coconut leaves and spread them over his roof for some quick waterproofing, preparing for the next unexpected rain. Not stopping there, he ran to the sea to find some dry tree bark. With his bare hands, he peeled it off, intending to make a magical rope, as the bark here was as tough as buffalo hide, ideal for tying things. Back at camp, he used the bark to secure the crossbeams of his shelter, then added more coconut leaves. He continued to tie everything down securely. In a flash, he had built an entire wall for his dwelling. Simple, but full of heart. Afterwards, he hurried to gather more dry wood to keep his fire from dying out. When he got too tired, he pulled out his sacred coconut, split it in half, and gnawed on the meat like a hungry tiger. He had lost count of how many coconuts he'd eaten, but he still ate as if it were his first time, chewing voraciously, lost in the moment. With his energy restored, he continued to gather more branches and coconut leaves to finish his incomplete wall. Sticking to his tried-and-true method, he layered the leaves and tied them tightly like a professional builder. Truly a skilled man. In the blink of an eye, he had finished a second wall just as night fell, and right on cue, it began to rain unexpectedly. Fortunately, thanks to his quick waterproofing design, he had built 2 rain-blocking walls, so he didn't have to worry about getting wet. Only a few small drops leaked through, as if the ceiling were shedding small tears. Although it was a bit cold and he worried the fire might go out during the night, the rain brought an abundant supply of water, a gift from the heavens. So, he busily collected more water, this time gathering a full 10 liters into 15 bottles, enough to last a lifetime. No longer worried about dying of thirst, he lay down on the dirt floor of his shelter, intending to get some sleep. But the weather had other plans. As soon as he lay down, a cold wind crept in, keeping his eyes wide open. He had no choice but to sit up, chin in hand, contemplating his life of coconuts and fish. After some thought, his eyelids grew heavy, and he finally fell into a deep sleep. And just like that, the 5th day of survival began. He woke up with his face looking like a zombie that hadn't had its morning coffee. He hadn't slept well on the hard ground. Once he was a bit more alert, he pulled out his life-saving coffee packet, put some in his mouth, and drank water as if it were a brain-boosting tonic. One sip, and life felt bright again. He grabbed his tools and went to find dry firewood to stockpile, while also hunting for breakfast. With his spear in hand, he dived into the sea with vigor, but as he was moving underwater, a sudden wave crashed over him, sending him scrambling back to shore in a panic. He waited for the waves to subside, then dived back in and quickly spotted his first fish. But his 2 spear throws missed completely, like a student failing to hit the blackboard with chalk. He returned to shore with his spear bent like a spring, straightened the tip, and sighed. as it was already noon and his stomach was still protesting. Exhausted from hunger, he lay down for a nap in the peaceful surroundings, but his stomach wouldn't let him rest and pulled him back up. Taking his gear, he dived one more time and, by a stroke of luck, caught a fish. He happily brought it back, then returned to hunt for one more, and succeeded again. With his prizes in hand, he started a fire, blowing it to life with his bamboo tube, and rebuilt his sacred grill, placing the 2 fish on top. The enticing aroma filled the air, making his stomach rumble. He enjoyed the simple yet protein-rich meal. The fish was soft and sweet, melting in his mouth. But 2 fish weren't enough to fill his stomach. He dived again and caught a jet black fish, not pretty but still grilled, and enjoyed right there in his shelter, as if he were having a picnic in the jungle. He was tired of drinking rainwater, so he packed his bag and set off to pick coconuts for a change of pace. Unexpectedly, along the way, he discovered a pile of washed-up plastic bottles. Right time, right place, right kind, perfect for storing water. Arriving at his familiar coconut tree, he picked up his trusty long bamboo pole, ready to continue his legendary coconut poking performance. He painstakingly maneuvered the sacred bamboo pole, poking up and down, and coconuts fell one by one like chicken eggs, rolling on the sand. As always, he sat by the beach, splitting the coconuts and pouring the water into plastic bottles to save for later. After the harvest, he treated himself to a dreamy sunset, watching the sea while sipping on cool coconut water. As night fell, the fire nearly went out, but a few embers remained. He gave it a strong puff, and it flared up again, as bright as fireworks. Tonight's menu was once again an all-coconut affair. Coconut water, coconut meat, and some fresh coconut, because the fish was too smelly for him to bear. After eating, he tried to sleep, but the constant buzzing of insects forced him to toss and turn like a circus performer, making it impossible to drift off. Somehow, he survived until the morning of the 6th day, his face like a zombie's, his eyes heavy as he yawned repeatedly. He made a cup of coffee for breakfast, then took his spear gun to the sea. His first shot missed as the fish dodged like a ninja, and the spearhead got stuck in a coral reef, its tip worn down to a nub. He patiently sharpened it again with a stone and continued his hunt. The second shot was a direct hit. A fat, delicious fish was now in his hands. But as usual, one wasn't enough, so he caught another to make it a pair. Looking at the 2 plump fish, he was almost tempted to make sashimi on the spot. Back at camp, he grilled the fish while sipping coconut water. The aroma was intoxicating. The fish was tender, firm, and had few bones. An absolutely delightful meal. After lunch, he went hunting again, this time catching 2 more, a perfect amount for dinner. While waiting for the fish to cook, he ran to the beach to enjoy the breeze, returning just in time for a hot meal. The crispy fish skin melted in his mouth, making his eyes close in pure bliss as he savored the delicacy. Before he could even digest his food, the rain started pouring again, the classic wilderness combo: cold, wet, and sleepless. He had no choice but to huddle by the fire like a drenched cat, enduring the night against the sound of the relentless rain. Today was the last day. He extinguished the fire, packed his belongings, and dismantled the shelter, the wild villa he had built with his own hands. After packing everything into his backpack and carrying it to the shore, he saw the boatman already waiting. And so, the survival challenge came to an end. He returned home in high spirits, as if he had just come back from a god-tier camping trip. Carrying an empty stomach, a daring heart, and a backpack full of faith, this man embarked on a 7-day survival journey on a deserted island. No Wi-Fi, no fast food, not a single soul in sight. Only insects, sea fish, bone-chilling rainy nights, and mornings waking up to the howling wind. Is this a dream vacation or a nightmare that makes you scream in terror? All will be revealed in this thrilling, breathtaking survival journey. Amidst the vast sea and sky lies a desolate island, devoid of human life, where only the wind, sun, and mosquitoes are your companions. It happened to catch the eye of a man who specializes in conquering nature. He is Xander, a man with a burning desire to become a true survival expert. Undeterred by hardship, he decided to survive on the island for 7 days to prove himself. And so, he boarded a boat and headed straight for the island. He arrived quickly, waved goodbye to the boatman, and bravely stepped onto the land. But as soon as he set foot on the island, the scorching heat left his throat parched. There was no water to be found, only sweat pouring down like a stream. His simple wish at that moment was for a rain shower to cool him down and quench his thirst. But this time, he brought no food or water, truly starting his survival battle empty-handed. In a moment of despair, as if blessed by the heavens, a coconut drifted ashore like a miracle. Without hesitation, he clutched it like a treasure. Not only that, but he also found a few plastic bottles with water inside. Though he didn't know what kind of water it was, he was so thirsty he took the risk. Luckily, it was fresh water. Like a fish finding water, he was grinning from ear to ear. Afterwards, he continued his search for more water from the surrounding coconut trees. He tried climbing but kept slipping, so he resorted to using a bamboo pole as a weapon to knock down coconuts. It worked surprisingly well. One fell down. He quickly used his knife to split the coconut and took a gulp. The cool sensation spread through his throat like a party, an indescribably refreshing feeling. With the fallen coconut, the collected fresh water, and a temporary water supply, he felt a sense of relief, no longer worried about dying of thirst. Next, he returned to the familiar coconut tree and used the same trick, poking relentlessly with the bamboo pole. One poke sent 3 coconuts down as if he were bowling. They rolled and scattered on the ground. In total, he harvested 3 large coconuts, which made him beam with joy as he ran back, clutching them like a precious treasure.